Welcome to the Evolvepreneur podcast channel, which is sponsored by Evolvepreneur.biz, a new online community-based platform designed to help develop your skills and knowledge to be massively successful in this new digital age. Your host today is John North, who is a 3-time #1 international best-selling author and strategic marketer. John's passion is to help business owners to master the online marketing world.
Welcome to Evolveprenuer. My special expert guest today is Everett O'Keefe, who's an international #1 best-selling author, having authored and co-authored 4 Amazon best-selling books. He's also helped him create and launch more than a dozen best-selling books for his clients. Everett speaks across the nation on the power of publishing, expert positioning, and how to create, leverage masterminds and events. He's co-founder of the Mastermind. It's an exclusive gathering of international marketing experts, and he and this group of speakers and authors, coaches and consultants meet twice a year for an exponential event in locations such as Aspen, Yosemite and Caribbean. As an expert coach and consultant, Everett works with international client base that includes speakers, authors, physicians and business owners, along with lots of other marketing consultants. Thanks, Everett, for coming along, and we're going to talk today obviously about masterminds.
Thank you so much, John, for having me. I'm a little upset, though. I thought this was going to be a video podcast.
Yeah, I understand you got all dressed up for me.
I'm wearing a tux. I mean, and for your listening audience, which I thought was going to be your viewing audience, I look like James Bond.
Right.
Look like Daniel Craig, and I'm all dressed up to the nines. I even got my hair cut, and I got makeup, studio makeup on, and.
Okay, so we need a selfie then. I'll need a selfie as proof.
Yeah, well, my camera's not working. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to help you there.
What a shame. Well, just as well I didn't have a proper shave this morning, so it's all good as well. One of the upsides of being an online entrepreneur, you don't really have to worry about what you look like, do you?
Yeah, this is true most of the time, at least.
Yeah, you can have a face for radio and you still get away with it.
That's right. That's right. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited, and it's very kind of you to bring me into your show. I appreciate it.
I'm a big fan, Everett, because I notice you're always at the leading edge, a little bit like me. I like to keep in touch what's going on, and not afraid to have a go at it, which a lot of people are a bit scared. It's like, will I blow it up? Will I break it?
Right. A lot of people want to adopt technology and tools and strategies right around the time that they no longer work.
Yeah, true. Good point.
Yeah. In fact, I was just thinking about putting together a big training program about how to leverage MySpace. I was going to put that together for those people. So
should be awfully popular.
I think so. I think it will be.
So, in subjects of what you've done, can you give a little bit of background of how you got to where you are now? Because obviously, no one in this internet community ever starts off as an expert. They always start off. Usually by accident, end up in this industry. I don't think anybody actually gets up in the morning and says, when I grow up, I'm going to be an internet marketing consultant or an online entrepreneur.
When I went to school, I didn't know what a mastermind was. I certainly didn't set out to become an expert at masterminds, mastermind groups, and mastermind events. And so, yes, by accident. I've always been marketing. It started out marketing doctors to insurance companies and attorneys, and then it became marketing myself as I had my own professional services business. But over time, I was working with a friend of mine, and we started thinking, "Gosh, there's stuff we know that could be so useful for other people. Let's have a go at that." And so we started a company called The Solution Machine. And we've had some reasonable success with that, though we did hit a point where we found ourselves marketing text message marketing to Main Street businesses, and realized the hard way that you really can't generate much of a business with clients spending $60 to $80 a month on your product.
That's a high volume business you're going to need there.
Yeah, and so we found out the hard way not to price your products for everybody, and we realized that we really needed to create an offering for the upper echelon. Around this time, a gal approached my business partner and I at a conference and said, "Hey, when can I come to your office and learn everything you know about marketing?" And she was ready to pack up her bags and go. And we said, gosh, that sounds incredibly boring. But what if we did something like up in the woods or something? Let's like have a camp. Let's have a marketing camp.
You didn't think you were some sort of mass murderer or something inviting her up?
No, apparently not. So from that, we sat down and brainstormed this thing called the Mastermind Retreat, which is not really a very creative name, but it was a very creative event because we went to Yosemite, we gathered a group of marketing experts in a log cabin in the woods. We spent 3 days working on each other's businesses. We did hot seats for each other where we took turns making someone else's business the center of attention. We had content blocks, and in between that, we went hiking in the giant sequoias and the redwood trees. We went and experienced Yosemite, which I love that you call Yosemite, and I get it. It's fine. I love that, actually. It's fun. But and from that was born what we now call the Masters,
right.
Which is this mastermind group with marketing experts from around the world. And we have our regular masterminding every other week over video conference, and we gather a couple times a year in some sexy location like the Dominican Republic or Aspen, Colorado, or Carmel by the Sea. We haven't made one to Australia yet, but we've been giving that some thought.
Oh,
so
cool!
Maybe,
that'll save me some airfares.
Yeah, well, maybe you and I can talk about it, and we can do some collaboration or something, because that'd be a really amazing thing to do.
Yeah, because the Australian dollar's gone down a bit at the moment, so you'd be buying pretty well.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, cool. So how did you start the group off in the first place? Like, if someone was going to say, look, I'm going to start a mastermind group, and I guess there's a couple of things they need to think about. One is obviously what the outcomes of the group's going to be, why you're creating the group, what sort of members you should choose, and how you should go about it. What's the sort of like the easiest, quickest way for someone to start a group?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you don't mind, let me back us up a little bit, just so we can talk about what a mastermind group is. Because a lot of people have heard the words, but they're not really familiar with the concept. Basically, Napoleon Hill discussed mastermind groups in his books, and he described it as a group of people that come together whose minds all create one mastermind that is far more powerful than even the sum of these individual minds. And he said he described it as an opportunity to leverage each other's resources, and by that mental resources and perhaps also financial resources, and described it as an ability and opportunity to create more in a year than you might in 5 or 10 years on your own. And I think that those are great descriptors, because in our mastermind group, for instance, as we meet by video conference, every 2 weeks, we are continually sharpening each other. We are sharing strategies with each other, also sharing things that failed. We share tools. We also offer a really high level of support and accountability. And we found that that's one of the things that has perhaps generated the greatest success, as we have people who have started in the group. I wouldn't call them zeros, because they're certainly not zeros. They're incredible people, but their businesses perhaps were, in the infancy. And in the next 6 months or a year, we watch them really take off with the support and the accountability of the group. And so a mastermind group is really an opportunity for a small group of people to come together, to pour into each other, and also to hold each other accountable, and to share strategies and tools to help increase those each member's businesses and success. Does that sound like a good encapsulation there?
That's a very good encapsulation. Almost could go on Wikipedia with that. I guess, I mean...
No, don't do that, because they might put my selfie there.
That's right, okay, yeah, better be careful, right? Yeah, I guess, I mean, for most people, being in business is isolating enough as it is. But with being online business, it's also very isolating, and again, because you don't have that personal contact at all. And being in that sort of mastermind group, at least to get you out of your own comfort zone and have you talking to people who actually are interested in the same sorts of things as you. Yeah,
and there's also a huge advantage to having someone that you can just lay all the cards out on the table with without pretense. For instance, I can discuss things with my mastermind group that I certainly cannot discuss with my wife. Either because my wife is much more risk averse than I am, or simply because my wife doesn't have the depth of knowledge to provide feedback on that particular subject.
Sure.
And the same thing is true, even if like it's a no-brainer for someone who's a solopreneur to be in a mastermind group. But also, what if you are the CEO of a company, small or large? Do you have the opportunity to speak with peers and really go deep with it, and expect to get peer level feedback of, oh yeah, I've been there, you don't want to do that, or oh yeah, I've been there, here's what you should do, rather than airing out the laundry with your staff, who might take that information to do something wrong with it, or who aren't equipped to give you feedback, or whom you really don't want to let them know what your plan is until you've completely formulated it and fleshed it out.
I mean, that's the trouble with staff, isn't it? Like, you can end up in a situation where staff get scared if you're going to start changing things around or whatever, and then they leave, and the good staff leave usually in that process. I've been through that. You start asking staff their opinion about whether I should hire this or fire this person, and the whole thing gets out. So you're right. I mean, it needs to be in an environment where, in some respects, they don't necessarily have a connection to your business, and they don't have an emotional connection either. So basically, it's very much a logical decision sometimes about what you should do.
Yeah, and let's be real. A lot of things that you might fly by somebody in the office, you might discover a week or two down the road that, I don't think I really want to do that, or I want to go a completely different way. But even if you correct that direction of that thing you flew by that staff member now may think you're not very resolute or very decisive, or you're kind of willy-nilly, whatever. You could cause all sorts of things. So the mastermind group allows you to come together and in an area without risk to be able to set aside the pretenses, the posturing and stuff like that, and say, I have this idea. What do you guys think? Or I have this problem. What do you guys think? And it's incredibly valuable. It has saved my business at least a couple times. And I see a mastermind group as also a way to future-proof my business, because members in my group have already gone places I have yet to go. There are also members in the group who haven't gone where I am, and together we'll help each other navigate the challenges ahead. Gosh, John, I also save a ton of money because people in my group may have explored a strategy or tool and can wave me off of it. And that's super, super valuable.
Sure. I mean, and so you said that you meet, once or twice a year in the mastermind?
Yeah, so we have our video conference calls every 2 weeks, and that usually for 60 to 90 minutes. And then we meet in person at one of these great locations to have incredible fun and gourmet food, and we bring our own chef, actually.
Oh, right.
And
I really want to come now. You got me going.
Yeah. So we do that a couple times a year, and that is this mix of being able to take deep dives on topics, also to really get to connect with people, and then have a lot of fun, because we've climbed to the top of domes in Yosemite. We've done snorkeling and waterfall jumping and stuff like that in the Dominican Republic, and whale watching in Carmel, and that's just mountain biking in Aspen, just boring stuff like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, sounds really boring. Okay, so if someone was going to start a group up,
yes,
what are the, I guess, pitfalls or tips that you can give someone? Because obviously one of the things that I could see happening with the mastermind group is that if you let people in that are not committed or are a bit flaky, you're going to end up with all sorts of problems.
People who are not committed, or people who need to be committed, like psychiatrically.
True.
Those are both challenges.
Well, that's a prerequisite for online entrepreneur, isn't it?
Well, a little bit. So John, I mean, you've hit on a really key thing. Is a mastermind group is only going to be as good as its members, and so you need to carefully weigh members. So if, for instance, you're looking to join a mastermind group, let's start there. You really want to look for a group that has a good mix of abilities that you don't possess. There may be some overlap. So, for instance, if your mastermind was on book publishing, for instance, and let's say, John, you were leading it, someone coming in, they may have various overlaps in regards to book publishing, but they're all going to have something different they bring to it. But it is important, I think, if you're looking for a group, is to try to find a group where you are probably not the top of the group in regards to your abilities. You probably don't want to be the foremost expert in the group unless you are also offering services that you could sell to the group. So if you become positioned as the expert, kind of the lead dog, then you probably will get some business out of that group. But if that's not your main goal, I think then go and honestly, if that is your main goal, you need to be in two groups: one that you are the lead dog on, and another one where you're the middle of the pack, or even the back of the pack. Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to get nothing out of it yourself, aren't you? You're going to be pretty much running around.
Exactly. Then it's not a mastermind group to you; it's a marketing group to you. And mastermind groups, by the way, are only successful if people are there to help each other, rather than treat it like a leads group. If you treat it like a leads group where I'm just there to develop business among the group, you'll probably get some, but you won't get nearly as much out of it if you treat it that way.
So that's the important thing, I guess, is set the goals that you want to do with the mastermind up front that you really want to achieve. Otherwise, you can end up thinking, oh, well, I'll have a go at this, I'll have a go at that, and you'll end up making a mess of it and putting people off.
Sure, and think of it this way. If you're trying to develop leads among the group, then your leads are as big as that group is at maximum. So let's say it's 20 people, you've got 20 potential leads. If you're joining a group to really mastermind, then those 20 people, rather than being your customers and that being this finite, limited thing, are going to be your coaches and your consultants that are going to teach you how to work with 1,000 customers. So anyway, but as you look at groups, I think it's important to look at lots of things, like when do they meet? How often do they meet? Can you be a full participant in it? If they meet more often than you can, then that makes it a challenge. If they only meet a couple times a year or once a month, is that enough for you? Or is meeting every other week a better idea? If some meet every week, and that might be too much commitment-wise. Like, we found our sweet spot to be every other week. Also, are you going to meet virtually, or is there a mastermind group in your city where you can meet personally? And that can have some great advantages, but it can also be a little bit limiting, because let's face it, there are advantages to working with people that are scattered around the nation or around the world.
You get a much bigger perspective and a lot more contacts when people do that.
Case in point, you and I are here talking, doing this, and if you and I limited our scope to those people who were within 10 kilometers of us, we would have never met.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing, you broaden your scope out. So on that subject, if you were going to start a mastermind up, what's the best way to sort of get the word out? Is it, do you create a meetup group? Do you start your own Facebook discussion group? What do you do to kind of attract those type of people that you'd want to be in your mastermind?
Yeah, both of the things you just said are completely acceptable ways to begin a mastermind. The challenge is you're thinking about who you want to mastermind with, and then think about where are those people. So, for instance, if you want to mastermind with CEOs of companies because you're a CEO, or the CFO or whatever, will you find those people by putting a free Facebook group out, or will you find them by putting up a free meetup? You may or you may not. You're far more likely, if you happen to be attending some sort of live event or training or something where those people happen to be, in which case somewhere in the midst of that event you can say, hey, I've been thinking about putting together a mastermind group and meeting periodically. Is that something you'd be interested in? And you'll probably find very good reception. One of the mastermind groups I'm in was from a conference I attended in San Diego. It was actually one of Mike Koenig's and Ed Rush's certification programs. And while we were there, one of the attendees said, "Hey, Everett, I'm thinking about putting together a mastermind group. Do you want to be in it?" And I was like, "Well, heck yeah." And that mastermind group still meets. I'm in several mastermind groups, and that one I'm on that call every other Tuesday morning. And the members have, changed over time, but we've been doing that group for 3-4 years now.
So do you ever have any sort of formal rules that you start off with the mastermind, or is it that people just opt themselves out? Like, let's say someone starts real keen and then has some sort of issue or whatever and moves on or whatever. Does the group kind of say, vote them off the island, or do you find that they just usually figure it out themselves and they're not going to make it? And
yeah, it's really interesting, and I don't know if this is a testament to the caliber of people that we've had in our groups. We have yet to need to vote anyone off the island. What we find is that if those people that we might have thought about voting them off the island kind of get the hint and leave on their own accord, and you just suddenly you'll find that those are not the ones who are participating in calls all the time. The other part, and this becomes a challenge, is you'll get some people that also will dominate the calls. And
yes.
And so if you're going to set up your own mastermind group, how you mediate that group is really critical, so that you can keep it valuable for everybody that's attending. Let everybody participate in it. There are a couple people that have participated in some groups that it just can be a challenge because they don't like to let other people talk, and that can be a challenge. And it's a challenge for me too, because sometimes I talk too much, like right now.
Mind you, you're being interviewed, so it's okay.
Oh yeah, it is an interview. I guess
that saves me saying
I'm
anything.
I'm going to shut up now and let you talk for the rest of this.
That's right. Then it'll be Ask John. It won't be Ask the Expert. It'll be Ask John. Which is a whole different podcast. Yeah, I think that's the key to it. I think, and I think probably, particularly if you're looking at the online community, is that a lot of people are introverts too, so they're not necessarily going to speak up. And so someone needs to kind of monitor that group and make sure that everybody's getting something out of it, I guess. That's
right, and that includes tapping those introverts and saying, hey, what do you think about that, or how would you handle that? In fact, John McCabe is a perfect example of that. So I was interviewed on his podcast a while back, and John and I met in a mastermind group, and he's a very quiet guy. The only time he speaks is when he feels he really, really has something to add to the conversation, and sometimes he just needs to be pulled out a little bit, and if you're going to moderate your own group, you need to develop that skill. It's actually interesting. I've got John up on a podcast interview, I think, coming up soon. So I think it's another week or so. Yep. So, great. So one of the questions I want to ask him is about the introvert thing, because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, and I think introverts probably think about things more than an extrovert would, and think about how people are going to react to it. So they put more thought into it than they probably extroverted would just come out and say whatever comes out of their mouth the first time. And you're right about that. There are those people who are verbal processors, and those people who can think things through without talking about them. Honestly, I'm a verbal processor, so if I really want to think about a subject, I get someone and we have a conversation about it, and then things work. And an introvert maybe doesn't work that way, but I guess we're a little off topic. Yeah, that's okay. But I think that's an important question, though, because the thing is that if you end up with 10 people in your group and 9 are extroverts and one's an introvert, that poor introvert's going to have a challenge. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be really challenged to be able to get the noise above those 9 other people. So obviously a mixture of personalities and is probably important as well. It is, but at the same time, a lot of those introverts will sit there, and some of them are quietly happy. Oh, yes. Soak it all up. They're just like, this is wonderful. Are you kidding? And I'll ask them, are you doing okay? Because you're not saying much. They'll be, are you kidding? This is incredible. This is the best thing I've ever experienced. And you're like, okay, because I was a little worried. I wasn't getting any feedback on it. And that does happen. I guess that's why you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So I've heard. So people keep reminding me.
So in a situation like, for example, what you're doing with which is called the Masters, which I think is something newish, isn't it? That wasn't necessarily called that before when you first started.
We originally just called it the Mastermind Retreat because we set it up as a retreat, not really intending to make a group out of it.
Right. Yep.
And then the group just grew out of it, and it's become a really special thing because I've been to mastermind events where you go to a hotel conference room, you sit around, you talk about business, maybe you're lucky to have dinner together, but you never really connect on a personal level. And the first thing we discovered on these retreats, and it completely blew our minds because we didn't know what to expect, was by the end of the third day, we all were family to each other.
It takes about 3 days, normally.
We had laughed so much together and experienced challenges together, and heck, I'll be honest with you, some of us had cried together, and by that time we were cemented. In fact, to the point that a month later, my business partner died unexpectedly. And
I was around when that happened. That was very bad.
Yeah, it was a super tough time, But this group came together around me to support this business I was trying to now do without half of me, basically. And also supported John's family. So, and that wouldn't have happened in a normal event or in a normal group, frankly. But what we've found is these retreats get people so locked in together that all the rest of the year we're just arm in arm. It's incredible. So anyway, it was called the Mastermind Retreat. Then we kept going, well, what do we really call this thing? Because, it's more than that. It's not just a retreat. It's a group. And so now it's called the Masters Mastermind. We don't wear green vests for anybody who's a golf fan. But it is something, it is something very, very special. And it's given us a chance to kind of develop this whole thing of both mastermind groups and also mastermind events and mastermind retreats. On that topic, John, I've been considering putting together, actually I've done most of the work, I just haven't launched, a product all about how to create your own mastermind group, how to moderate that, and most importantly, how to leverage it so you get the most out of it. So you're not just spinning your wheels participating in it. And while that's not ready yet, I did put something together for your audience.
Okay. So can you give out the link there? And what we'll do is we'll put it up on the podcast notes as well, so down the track if people don't get it,
sure,
they'll be able to do it.
So it should be easy. It's the mastermindmastery.net. Did I say the? It's just mastermindmastery.net, mastermindmastery.net. But then also people can pick that up off your blog page or the podcast notes, that type of thing. What I put together there is 7 tips to find, create, and leverage a mastermind group. And it's not just 7. There's some bonus ones thrown in there too. And then if people pick that up, I will also make sure to get them later on. I've got another one that's about mastermind events. And hopefully they'll get them on their way, get them starting participating in a group or beginning their own group. Everybody should be in at least one, if not 2 mastermind groups. If you're in business, you should be in one.
So where do you see your business going now? Is it a case of expanding on your existing mastermind group itself and maybe offering some sort of facilitation for other people to create their own masterminds? Is that where you see it going?
Well, it's interesting you ask because that is something I have done for my clients, is help set them up with mastermind groups, and I've even traveled to help facilitate their first mastermind retreats. Basically, sat with them and modeled with them and helped facilitate the communication.
Right.
So that's been good. It's been great. So we've done that. As far as my business, my core business is still as a consultant, helping my clients develop their brands, increase their positioning, whether it's through books and videos, all of those things. But at the same time, I want to help podcasters and business people and consultants and things like that develop their mastermind groups, teach them how to do it. I mean, there's an art to it, to making it super This is awfully fun, and we've the whole thing about building mastermind groups and participating in them is, as far as I'm concerned, a key to success. Had I learned about mastermind groups in my 20s instead of in my 40s, holy cow! Oh my goodness, I just can't even imagine what it is. So, but it is one of those things. People at any stage in their business, whether they're brand new in their business or they've been, just killing it and super successful, can all benefit from a mastermind group. Whether it's free or it's paid or it's extremely expensive, whatever, there's huge value.
I think at the end of the day, when you do things like this, there needs to be either some hurt money or some skin in the game where you've had to give up something to be able to be part of it. I think if you're not giving up something, whether that be time or money, then the reality is you're not really going to take it serious.
I agree. I agree. At the same time, for those people who, if the only way they can go is to find or create a free mastermind group, I don't want to take that away from them. But I completely agree. So, for instance, our group in the Masters, there's an investment to be part of it. It's not unreasonable. In fact, it's a great deal because we include the first retreat with it.
Right. Yeah.
And we cover everything, all the food and activities and beverages and all that. But there does need to be skin in the game. And quite frankly, if you will, the more expensive the mastermind group is, many times the more you're likely to get out of it because of that. It pre-qualifies those people who attend. That those people have skin in the game and have reached a certain level to be able to spend that money and commit it. It really does make a difference. You're right about that.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to the whole thing. And I suppose one of the things you did say was, like you got together, and I think that's probably important if you're going to try and do a mastermind, is to try and have that sort of as part of the deal, is to try and get together, because I think it's hard to build that connection quickly over a call a week or something like that. It's going to be a long time before you really build that connection.
Yeah. The other part we do, and I recommend this for anyone in their group, is make it an application process.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let people just willy-nilly invite other people and poof, they're assumed to be in your group. For us, we have in fact, if people find us on Facebook, our Facebook page is called The Masters, and I think it's Facebook/Masters Mastermind, something like that. Facebook/Masters Mastermind. You'll see our application. You can go check our application out. And we just do it there. People submit it. Then there's 3 members of our group, basically the founders and organizers of the Masters. We review it and we decide if someone's a good fit. And it isn't just are they a good fit for our group, but is our group a good fit for them? Will our group be able to help them where they are? And that's a really important point.
It makes sense, yeah. And I think that's the way it's to be. But it'll probably start small, I would imagine, like start with small numbers. Like you said, you had 3 core founding members. I guess that's probably the best place to do is start small with the key people and grow it from there, not try and go too big too fast.
Well, basically we have 3 partners that manage the Masters. Our first event, I think we had 14 people there, something like that. And the sweet spot, if you're doing your own events, by the way, is really between 8 and 20.
It makes about sense, yep.
Yeah, smaller than that, you don't get you sitting there staring at each other, and more than that, you lose the individual abilities, people to pour into each other. Logistically too, it gets harder. I think it's hard to keep track of people. Now you're in a hotel, ballroom instead of some fancy living room at a condo in Aspen. You're stuck in the ballroom at some hotel, in a boring conference environment. Which is not as glamorous as you'd want to be. Or as fun, and you just don't connect the same way. It's when you're sitting in overstuffed leather chairs, holding your favorite adult beverage while you're working. That works. That allows great stuff. Share a beer or wine or something else together, and while you're working. It's amazing. Yeah, it does give a chance. So, and by all means, if people are going to form mastermind groups, do mastermind events. Absolutely. Okay, it makes a lot of sense. And I think over the years I've sort of been involved in masterminds and felt that some work well, some don't. But at the end of the day, I think it's worth pursuing because at the end of the day,
it can be quite lonely out there if you don't have people like-minded as you that are going to give you some advice that you don't necessarily have to pay the way out for.
Yeah. Hey, before we're done here, I just want to send kudos to you out in front of everybody else, because you have done such a great job of supporting others remotely through your involvement in Facebook and other things, where you really pour into the online marketing community through your participation. You have always been like a giver, and it's so incredible to watch, and that's why I'm excited about your Evolvepreneur platform. And I think it'd be helpful. I don't know if you're cool with it, but you could tell people about it. I know you're supposed to be interviewing me, but I'm interviewing you now. If you could tell people a little bit about it, before we end this interview.
Oh, for sure. And I think I'm really grateful for that. It's nice to know that you get recognised. Sometimes, you put stuff out, you don't necessarily see if it comes back or not. But
you're famous. Hey, you're famous over here. You're famous over here in the States, man. So because of what a big giver you are.
That's excellent to hear. Great. I might be able to get a free place to stay next time.
There you go.
Okay, so yeah, we'll talk a bit about Evolvepreneur, because it is kind of fitting to what we're talking about with you too. So, and it's still evolving, if you like, in terms of what we're trying to pull it together, because it was sort of an idea that's been bubbling away for a while, and that was what do people really want out there in the in the online world or the offline world. And part of what I see a lot day to day, and particularly when you're talking about that problem with, people, giving out some help and stuff along the way, is that people get a bit lost in the technology. And what happens is they end up buying all these things, but they never implement any of them. And then they end up with a database that's not working properly, a landing page is not quite right, no follow-ups, no emails, no proper social media strategy, because they're sort of picking at it all. And we wanted to try and find a way to be able to sort of give those people some courses and some social interaction. And I'm trying to figure out what the best way to talk about the thing was. And I guess it's a social online course community, if you like, so that people can come together and learn things either from each other, from the courses, to be able to actually implement and get them working, rather than just, buy the latest, greatest piece of software and never actually load it up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I do a lot of coaching with clients where we say, look, show me your landing page or your website, and go, I'm still working on that, and I've got 5 of them. None are finished. And I go, okay, and if I click on this contact us button, does it work? Nope.
Of course not.
And then, so what's your lead magnet? And I go, what's a lead magnet? And so at the end of the day, you think, well, okay, you've got a problem because you've got no way of continually pushing that business through and taking that initial kind of step into the online world. And that's, to me, is 101, but for most people, they don't get it. And to actually get someone to sit there and say, look, just focus on one thing, let's just get one landing page working and one email to go out, can be a monumental effort.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And you think about that, and all these people out there, I go to their websites and look at their sites and go, well, no call to action, there's no way to attract leads, no wonder they're not getting any business.
Yeah. And we do get frozen with a little bit of the deer in the headlights, especially with technology. Which tool should I use, right? Which landing page software should I use? What should I use for my autoresponder? And people get so busy trying to figure out what's the best one that they fail to choose one ever and never put it into play.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that
because the next best one comes out again, they get rid of that and start another one.
Yeah, and the wrong and really we've been discovering in our mastermind group that we were always in this quest for what's the best comprehensive system that would do everything. Okay, lead pages and sales pages and autoresponders and text messaging and all of that stuff, and more as things start to sync up better and better and better, we find that maybe the solution is just to find a tool that does a good job in each of the things you want, but will will play nicely together with the others. And that used to be really hard. Not
anymore. No, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, with good coaching or good resources around you, like your Evolvepreneur thing or in your mastermind group or whatever, you quickly find that no, these pieces can now quickly come together. The technology's there. Sometimes you just need somebody to point you at it. And that's where a mastermind group can be super valuable. It's like, well, have you tried that tool? No. Does that work? Yeah. Just here's how I'm using it.
And get a bit of confidence in giving it a go. And I mean, I think that's where it sort of stops. And I think also the thing is that, to me, once you decide on a piece of software or do whatever it is, you need to give it a decent go. You don't need to just go, I've tried it for 5 minutes, this looks too hard, I'm going to go somewhere else. I mean, I'm probably good at what I do because I've assessed and developed software and done a lot of software launches over the years, so I can pretty much tell you within about 5 to 10 minutes flat whether a software is going to do what it's supposed to do. But most people don't have that ability, so they're just going to sit there and think, oh, it's not going to work, without seeking any help to find out that they're missing the really important parts of it.
Yep. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So I think you convinced me that I need to do a mastermind for Evolvepreneur. Oh
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know a really great mastermind group if you're interested.
Fair enough. Sounds like a good plan. So I think what we want to do in Evolvepreneur also is set up special interest groups inside the actual site itself. So I think we'll talk further about setting up a sort of a mastermind group, if you like, in terms of maybe setting up people want to create a mastermind, they can come into that group and ask questions and get some sort of direction and take it from there.
That would be fantastic.
And we'd happy to sort of see whether we can put your course into our system or whether we can put links to it or something like that once you get it up and running.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I think that'd be really fun too.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, thanks for coming on, and hopefully we'll be able to interview you again when you do your next round of Masterminds.
Yeah, thank you so much, John, and keep doing what you're doing. And in fact, this podcast is the perfect example of what you've been doing for so many people online. Is you're bringing people tools, strategies, experts, all sorts of things to help improve their businesses. So again, just on the behalf of all these people who are over here in the States who've been benefiting from your work, I just want to say thank you again.
That's much appreciated. I think Evolvepreneur is the concept of being able to leverage that so that I can't be everywhere, but at least if I can expand out the information and give it to more people, then it's a much faster way to do than one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen how much you've supported some of us through individual chats, and I know, and that can only go so far. You can only support so many people one-on-one like that. So.
Yeah, and when they come at you thick and fast, sometimes you've got to start saying, okay, I'm going to start shut these conversations down real quick.
That's exactly right.
Okay, thanks, Everett, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, thank you.
You've just been listening to another great Evolvepreneur podcast interview. We hope you enjoyed it. Please visit evolvepreneur.biz today to find out more about our online community and how you can take part.